Welcome back to another live episode of Hail Yes, a Michigan football and basketball podcast by the Detroit Free Press. I'm Andrew Burkle, of course, joined by our Michigan beat writer, Tony Garcia, who is live in Chicago. So if you hear a little background noise, bear with us there. Tony is joining us literally as soon as possible after hearing from the Michigan football players who made the trip to Chicago for Big Ten Media Days, as well as new coach Kyle Whittingham, who had some interesting things to say. So Tony, first of all, thanks for joining us so fast, dude. And secondly, what were your big takeaways there?
Yeah, there's a number of them. And if you see me looking off to my left, it's I think it's Trey Pierce right here and Jordan Marshall. Like Radio Row is right off to the left. I might try to snag them. I don't know if we're going to be able to, just for a live thought, but that's why I'm not tuned out. I'm just keeping eyes on things. But a few things, just talking about Bryce Underwood's usage, about some of the greater storylines and troubles that this program has found itself in for years on end now at this point. Some of the things about the strength staff, I guess it wasn't as much about the strength staff previously, but where the raw numbers were for this team in terms of doing some of their lifts and things, the expectations versus falling short. Calling offensive line coach Jim Harding a requisite hire. Just raving and raving about the past dozen years that Jim Harding has had in Utah under Kyle Whittingham and the success that they are extremely confident that they will bring. And just as we know, Andrew, it's kind of like drink on this podcast when you hear us talk about offensive lines, or me specifically, and you know how I feel about the importance of an offensive line for a football team. And so just a lot of, another thing that stood out, I would say, is Kyle Whittingham said this is the most uncertain season that he has ever had, feeling going into a season, just in the sense that there is so much that is new. Think about it. He was the head coach of Utah for 21 years. Prior to that, he had been defensive coordinator. He had been on staff for 11 years. So 3 decades at one place, comes to an entirely new program, flips over the roster, over a dozen transfers out, over a dozen transfers in, couple dozen freshmen coming in, and it's a young team. There might be, I don't know if there's going to be a starter on the offensive side of the ball that's over 21 years old. No 22-year-olds, none of the 23. And you look at Indiana last year, right? Famously now, they wanted to make it sort of an older team. So it sounds like there is going to be some work in progress. Kyle Whittingham said that successful, and he was sort of someone clarified the question. He's like, if we're in contention in November and we're playing meaningful games in November, that will tell me that we are on the right track here, because it didn't sound to me like, he wasn't talking about national championship, Big Ten championship year one, which was surprising because, heard Pat Fitzgerald of Michigan State say that yesterday, David Braun of Northwestern. They're like, why not us, right? And I think it's kind of refreshing, right, that you're not over promising and under delivering. Of course, that's the goal and that is the hope. But to say that they are expecting a Big Ten championship year one, I don't know that they are. I think they think that could happen if everything shook out the right way. But they know the schedule. They know that there's a long way to go with a lot of pieces. And they want to see consistent progression. That's one thing that we did not see last year at all. You couldn't say that, this team is much better in week 12 than they were week 1, right? It felt very stagnant. If they are improving throughout the year, I know that's not the sexy thing, that's not the fun thing. Maybe this is not going to be one of those, it's not going to be one of those 2021 to 23 seasons that we wrote books about, that people bought newspapers about, and they've framed and they've hung up. But this could be the beginning of a foundation of Michigan football returning to its roots, just not be making headlines for the wrong reasons, running the ball, playing sound, not beating yourself. All those things that were staples for a long time that might have sort of escaped in the past couple of years. I think that's what they're really trying to implement going forward.
Whenever it's coming to these media days, you're always reading between the lines a little bit, right? It's like, okay, is this just a veteran coach trying to downplay expectations? Because obviously Michigan is the fan base in particular is one of the highest expectation fan bases in the country, right? And Whittingham's coming in here, and he knows the reality, right? Like you said, uncertainty from Whittingham. Well, you also have to factor in the transfer portal and everything that comes with that in today's day and age. In most of his tenure at Utah, he was building the rosters year over year over year over year. And that's not really the case this year. So I can see why there would be a lot of uncertainty. And it's hard to tell, like, are we reading into that too much? Or is this guy just a straight shooter, which is kind of why, players love him in the first place, right? He's a no BS type guy. And is that why it's kind of coming off as tempering expectations maybe? Or is this just like a realist?
I think I think that straight shooter, of all the options you gave, straight shooter would be the one I've gone with, right? Like, he's not, I mean, he was not afraid to say, I mean, when I met with him earlier this summer, he said it, and then was talking about it on Rich Eisen the other day. He was saying it up here. I mean, he's talking about like the NCAA needs to go to like a NFL minor model, right? There needs to be, like, he's not afraid to say things that he thinks would be good, should be good. He says it's going to happen in the next 2 to 5 years, right? And so the last couple of years, and I'd say even before that, sometimes with Jim Harbaugh also, you really never knew what you were going to get. But there was kind of a lot of blowing smoke at times, just everyone, this is the greatest, that's the greatest. We have, every unit is the best unit in the country, right? And so everything had to be taken with a grain of salt. With Whittingham, I mean, it really feels like what you see is what you get. I kind of, early indications, and I'm not saying the results are going to be the same, it kind of feels like Dusty May in a way where it's like, he's not going to tell you something just for the sake of telling you. If he's saying it, there's a reason he's saying it. And so I think that, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like they're not high on this team, or like they don't think like that they have a lot of really great pieces, but I think he said, I mean, like, he was even talking about it with the front office and some of the recruiting, right? He's like, we have a really good foundation in 27. We expect these classes to continue to get better or higher, like ranked higher, the number will be lower. That's always confusing. It's like the seeds in the NCAA tournament, right? Is the 3 seed higher, or is the 14 seed higher, right? But like the expectation is consistent improvement. And this is year one. This is where the foundation is laid, and he has not been here before. So it's not like he saw what it was like as we got Michael Cohen, my predecessor, making faces at me behind the screen. But there's no, he doesn't have anything to compare this to at Michigan. It's more new faces in 1 year than he's ever had in decades of doing this, right? And so I think he's just being very honest about it. Like, look, we're excited about the running backs. We think we could have one of the best running back rooms in the country. We think Bryce has tremendous upside. The offensive line, there's a lot of returners back. We like that. The defensive line could be the strength of our defense. They really like they're going to be in like a 4-2-5 base. He said like 65% of the time they'll have 4 down linemen. About 35% of the time, he said roughly, they'll have uneven fronts, right? And so he's sort of spelling out like these are sort of the ways we want to do things. They like their secondary, but there's not a lot of depth in the secondary right now. I mean, the names that we know, Zeke Berry, Jair Hill, Smith Snowden, Rod Moore, Chris Bracey's expected to start at the other safety spot. Those are the names, right? Beyond that, they're going to have to find some guys. And he said, he's like, when you have 5 cornerbacks, you feel pretty good about things. He said, right now we have about 4.5. So sometimes I think he's just telling it like he is. And again, fall camp starts next week, right? They haven't even put the pads on in months. A lot of that, like the quarterback's not live. You know what I mean? I mean, there's so many things that are not like true football that have begun yet. And so this is just how as he sees it going into the season.
He talked a little bit about Bryce Underwood, and one of the comments, or I guess it was more the question that kind of got my attention, was about Bryce saying he was the best player to ever come out of the state of Michigan. And the way he navigated that question, I thought was interesting, where you could tell he clearly didn't love him saying that, right? But at the same time, he was very supportive in a player's coach type way, where he was like, yep, Bryce, a very confident kid, as he should be, yada, yada, yada. But maybe he shouldn't have said that on the stage, or I can't remember what the exact quote was, but I thought it was a really interesting way of handling that. And it was a good insight into kind of maybe the barometers that they're going to try to keep Bryce within. Like, hey, you got to be yourself. You be your confident self. But also, there might be a time and place to rein in some of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Did you talk to Sean Windsor? Did you talk to our columnist, Sean Windsor?
No, I did not. No.
You didn't? You sound just like him. Sean and I just had the same conversation like an hour and a half ago. I agree totally, and that's what we were saying. Clearly, Bryce Underwood and Kyle Whittingham are different individuals. They come from different times and different backgrounds, and so they're going to handle things not the same. But I thought the way he even threaded the needle on that question, because you're right, he did not. That's not his idea of something that you would say, but he's also in the second part of the sentence, he's like, and Jordan Marshall said as much to us when we were talking to him. He's like, I think every player should be that confident. He's like, I didn't have any problem with that. He's like, for example, I think I'm the best running back in the Big Ten. Other people are going to disagree with that. But if I don't think so, going into the game, then I'm not going to be playing my best, right? I need to have full belief in my ability. And everything Bryce says is going to be incredibly scrutinized and highlighted and monitored to the nth degree, right? And so Bryce was asked.
To counter real quick, don't you think, though, that's the difference between knowing your position in football, and it's not always fair, the questions that the quarterbacks have to answer to, right? The Cowboys have been losing since, the 90s, but Dak Prescott takes the heat, right? I think that Jordan Marshall can come out and say, yeah, I'm the best running back in the Big Ten. Well, he's a running back, right? Quarterback, I do think there is a different expectation, and that's where I think these type of comments do they get more headlines, right? And that is why you have to be more aware,
For sure. And it also comes, you have to paint the whole picture, right? You're the number one recruit in the nation, and you have an underwhelming season as a freshman after saying nobody's seen a freshman like me, right? And that I want to win a Heisman and a couple national championships, right? You build this hype up tremendously before you've ever played it down, and then the talent is there, but the results are not, right? And so now it's going to lead to a long off season, right? And to questions like this, and to everybody looking into all these comments that you make. And so, I think today he was much more, we met with Bryce for 30 minutes and he was much more understated. It was a lot about how this offseason has been about leadership. And that was one of the main charges that Kyle Whittingham put on Bryce when he came in. One of their first conversations was about how he needs to be that guy, not just for his position, but for his class, right? Jordan Marshall was talking about how something he wants to see out of Savion Hyder is consistent in his mentality, right? It's hard to show up and be the same guy day in, day out when you're not feeling good, when something goes wrong. But that's how you end up becoming one of the leaders of the team. And that's why Jordan, even though, he's about to start his junior year, I would say Jordan Marshall is maybe second to Rod Moore on this team as the guy. And Jordan himself threw Bryce in that same mix. And so it sounds like he's being a lot more vocal this year internally, and nobody on the outside is going to be satisfied with anything that's said until they see the results, right? That's what it all comes down to. If he didn't say one word and underwhelmed, or if he said every word and met expectation, it's all about what you do on the field.
Yeah, it's a complicated dynamic. And I think that especially this summer's comments, after I think you wisely highlighted last year, you've never seen a freshman like this, right? Where it's I think some of the country and some of the college football viewers, particularly nationally, were like, dude, didn't you learn from last year? And that's why I think those comments in particular and Whittingham's handling of those comments, I thought was a good insight into kind of the conversations that are being had. But what did you get the vibe of, as far as where Bryce stands? Whittingham made another comment as far as the spring game, that wasn't the real, Bryce development track that we're seeing, because the spring game, of course, raised some red flags because it wasn't Underwood's best performance. What was the vibe as far as where you think he stands and comments that Whittingham did make?
Yeah. So here's the quote I'll point to. So I asked Kyle about, you had so much to implement in this spring, right? And you guys, by all accounts, sounded like things went pretty well. What do you most want to see in the fall that would have you feeling best going into game one? And it was just a wholesale picture. It could have been any answer. Just what do you want to see? Is it, I want to find out who that last cornerback is. Like, we feel good about our defense, or I'd like to see our wide receivers prove that they are who we think they are, whatever, right? And I'm going to do my best to read this quote right here. He said, I would say getting the throw game more dialed in, more consistent. Bryce trusting his offensive line more, going through his progression in a manner that, we can speed things up a little bit. The quarterback's got to have a clock in his head as he's going through his progression. They got to say, hey, it's about time to either make that throw or get the heck out of here. And so I'd like to see that be cleaned up and become more efficient in that regard. We also got to do a better job of creating situations for Bryce to get out of the pocket and throw on the move, because he does that really well, throwing the football accurately on the move. That's one of his strengths. And when you've coached at a place for a few years and you get to know your personnel and you know what to expect, but when you've never coached a group of guys in a game, that's what I'm referring to. Is I've never seen these guys up close in person executing in a game, and so you can only tell so much about your team in spring ball going against each other. And so essentially, wow. I mean, a lot of that, right? I mean, I think it's very pointed towards, we want to see Bryce do the things that we think he's trending towards, that we believe he can do, but we need to see this consistently. That was what I took away from that. And quickly, while we're on Bryce, I want to get into a little bit about some of the other things that he said. I mean, he said specifically, we're going to use it. Like, if you saw how we used Devin Dampier last year at Utah, it's going to look a lot like that with Bryce. I've got Dampier's numbers up in front of me. Let's go through the running numbers first. He ran 146 times in 12 games. So that's about 12 rushes per game. That's a notable amount for 835 yards, 10 touchdowns. You don't know how the numbers are going to look, but if Bryce runs 12 times a game, that would be significantly up from last year, where in 13 games he ran 88 times. So that's 6.5, 7 a game. I mean, that's almost doubling how much he ran. The passing, Bryce threw 335 passes, Devin Dampier threw 334. So it's going to be probably right around the same, but that was in one additional game. So maybe 3-4 more passes a game. But another he said, he's like, we got to help Bryce. In the two ways, he said, there are two surefire ways to help a quarterback. To have an offensive line that communicates and that he is confident in, where he is not immediately just feeling like he's under pressure and then having to roll out and then eliminating half the field and eliminating maybe this primary read or somewhere that's on his progressions. And two, is a consistent running game. He's like, if we can have backs who he knows are going downhill and the defense knows are going downhill 5, 6, 7 yards a carry, then that is only going to make jobs easier. So, I mean, he did and we all know this to be true, right? Quarterbacking is not all on the quarterback. It's all 11 on the field. But, Michigan is going to do, and it's why he brought Jason Beck in, right? Jason Beck, the offensive coordinator. He is known and is becoming more known for putting guys in position to succeed. I mean, every time he spoke this offseason, he talked about, whether it was on podcasts, whether it was meeting with us, he says his MO is tailoring his offense to its personnel. Whereas Michigan's whole philosophy of their ethos about the way you have to go about your business is not, we will become you, you will become us. The offense and the philosophy is kind of the opposite. It's like, I mean, you're going to bring in guys who you think, once they have more recruiting classes and transfer classes, they're going to bring in the guys they think can do the things they want to do. But certainly now, they are finding out, hey, what works for Bryce? Let's do that frequently. What are our running backs better zone runners, better power runners? Let's do that, right? Where do our wide receivers like excel? Are they jump ball guys? Do you just need to get them the ball in space and let them make a play, right? Like, that's what Michigan's going to be about.
That's interesting, because that's kind of, like you said, the opposite of certainly the Sharon Moore era, where it was kind of like, this is what we do. We're going to run the ball. And, certain times fitting a square peg into a round hole too.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, because the Underwood family, I guess, leader, the people around Underwood, did you get the vibe that that's something they're going to be cool with, running 12 times a game? Because I think they envision him as a first round pick, NFL prospect type guy, right? Like, that's, and not necessarily something that you want to be doing as relying on that heavily, right? Like, sometimes college run or quarterbacks, they run when maybe the arm talent isn't always there. Like, do you think that's something that Underwood and more so those around him would be cool with, him running 12, 13 times a game throughout an entire season?
Absolutely. That was the vibe I got from Bryce. I think he wanted to run last year, right? Like, I think he was pretty frustrated that he wasn't getting utilized more. And he said some of the right things today. He's like, that wasn't asked of me. He's like, I was just going to do what the coaches wanted from me and what the team needed from me to give us our best chance to win. Bryce, well, something that
the player usually wants to run, right? The player usually wants to run.
Yeah. And one of the things that separates Bryce and one of the reasons that people think he can be one of those first round picks is not just that he has a cannon for an arm, but that according to Whittingham, he runs a 4.6 40, right? And that's right about where I would estimate it, right? Like, this is a top speed, top end guy, and he's 6'4", 228. He's Cam Newton size. You know what I mean? Close to it. That's what.
No one's Cam Newton size.
Okay. No, but close to it.
Not even Josh Allen.
Close to it. But he's much bigger than your standard college quarterback, and he's big for a mobile NFL quarterback, right?
No doubt.
And so I think, they just want to put Bryce's full talent on display. Both for the future and Kyle was talking about it, right? He's like, look, in this day and age, he's like, we as a defense, we want a quarterback to be a statue, right? Like, he's like, we don't want to have to worry about that. And so exactly, again, it's like Dusty May, right? We want to eliminate teams shooting layups and threes, and we want to make them shoot mid-range jumpers because we want to shoot layups and threes, and we don't want to shoot mid-range jumpers, right? Everybody knows what, the best case scenario is you have a quarterback who can run and can pass, right? And Bryce, he can do both of those things. To how successfully, to what degree, still remains to be seen. But running is obviously something that he can do.
But you hear what I'm saying, though, right? Like, you hear what I'm saying, where it's like,
you get the concern, you get the injury concern.
Yeah.
Of course, that was Sharon Moore's line last year, right?
Right, and the miles on the tread,
Yeah. That's what Sharon said last year, right? He's like, well, if you're going to have a rushing quarterback, you better have two. It's like, well, or you can, and it's hard to do it in the heat of battle, in the moment, in the game. And there's times where you got to lower your shoulder. It's 4th and 1. You're playing Ohio State. You're down 7. It's the fourth quarter. All right, let's lower our shoulder and run through. I don't care if it's a linebacker, if it's an edge, whatever. Fall forward. Or it's 2nd and 12 and you're playing Washington in the first quarter and it's tied and you've escaped. All right, well, maybe just pick up 4 yards and get out of bounds. You don't need to try to juke someone and run through them and get that first down. You know what I mean? Live to fight another play. Know when it's worth it. Much easier said than done, everybody says. But, Michigan will see how he handles this added responsibility of, not just designed runs, but escaping and making plays on the run, which is probably, I think that's where Michigan likes his skill set the most. There is his ability to sort of improvise, extend the play, and make a decision. And very quickly on the quarterbacks, Tommy Carr going into fall camp is QB2.
That's crazy.
With a bullet.
This is a guy who was committed to Miami, Ohio, not that long ago, and wasn't really getting major offers, and he comes in and immediately is the number 2. That's impressive. Let's take a quick break, and then I want to talk about what Whittingham had to say about what he called the drama surrounding Michigan's program. So stick with us on the live. We'll be right back. Tony, Whittingham obviously has just arrived in the last few months. He's not going to be the guy who's going to have to answer for a lot of the scandals that have gone around this Michigan program the last, let's call it, a half decade or so. But he's still going to be asked about it. And we saw that today. What did you think of his answer and what he called the drama around the program? Was that an admission of like, yeah, I see it, or did it leave a little bit to be desired?
No, I thought it was fair. He had nothing to do with. A lot of people are going to try to say their hands were clean, right? Kyle Whittingham literally had nothing to do with any of it. He wasn't even here. When the last bit of the drama with Sharon, the affair and the arrest and the firing, right? That's what brought Kyle Whittingham here. And so Kyle Whittingham is not the Board of Regents. He's not the president. He wasn't on Jim Harbaugh's staff. He's not Connor Stallions. He's not Matt Weiss. He's not Denard Robinson. He's not Greg Scruggs. He's not Shemi Schembechler. All these people who had all these created all this chaos and did all these problems, right? And so I think a lot of what he said is fair. I mean, if you the quotes, I mean, he said they've been going through a lot the last 4 or 5 years talking about the players, but hopefully we can put the drama to bed and just get back to being student athletes and having a great college experience. It's reality. There has been a lot of drama. We hope we've come to the end of that and we're ready to proceed with the business of playing football, winning football games, graduating players, and putting the emphasis on things that should have the emphasis on them. And I mean, he also pointed out how much of this, right? And I mean, outside of Mozzie Smith, who, when he was arrested on gun charges and that incident, and I guess you could also say when Donovan Edwards retweeted something that had anti-Semitic tropes, or it was certainly blurring those lines. The vast majority of the things that have made the major headlines and really caused headaches for everybody in and around this program were done by the adults in the room, right? By Sharon Moore, by all the people we just mentioned, right? We don't need to go through it again. Everybody knows what's been happening. And so that's why Kyle said that he feels like this can all be put, like, he doesn't expect the court of public opinion to change quickly, but he thinks the culture of this program can change quickly. He said, like, he was asked if he feels sort of in any way responsible for sort of turning the tide in the athletics department. He's like, well, I don't know about the whole athletics department. He's like, but certainly within the football program, he's like, that's absolutely one of my main jobs. And he said, quote, I think it can change pretty quickly, and especially when the drama is not player driven. The players are doing what they're supposed to do. They're doing the things that they've, been recruited to do. Unfortunately, the drama came from the adults. In a lot of ways, the players, are to be commended for how they handled it. But to answer your question, yeah, I believe we can put that aside and in the rearview mirror rather quickly. We already have to a certain extent, and the only way to do it is just keep proving it every day that you're doing the right things. You're not creating controversy and having distractions, and just taking care of your business the right way. That all feels very fair to me.
No, it's tough to argue with that. And I think that, Kyle Whittingham doesn't necessarily seem like the most media prepped guy in the world, but if he was, that would be the type of answer that you would want to give, right? I think that covers all the bases. Doesn't, necessarily bring yourself into it because he wasn't in on it. And so I think that, he did a pretty good job today of putting a lot of that to bed for now, at least, because it's like, if you ask him again, what's he going to say, right? He's going to say something similar along those similar lines. The only thing that, I'm sure he's trying to avoid was any questions about, like, how long is Ward going to be around? As always, he still, he said the other day in a video that you sent me, actually, he's like, athletic director, Ward Manuel, our athletic director. So he's still in it, right? So he's still going to be around it, but I don't imagine this being a topic that's going to be brought up to him many more times, because I think he did a pretty good job answering it, right?
Yeah, I mean, Ward is here until December 31st. Michigan, their NIL Collective Champion Circle earlier this week just had one of their main fundraisers and events where I think it was where you got married, Andrew, out in Plymouth. Rich Eisen's there, Adam Schefter was there, a lot of people were there. Ward wasn't there. And he made a statement to say that he had a prior obligation. But what I will tell you is when I was there last year, Ward Manuel was there last year. So could he have had a prior obligation? Sure. Do the optics point to that? I'll let everybody else be the ones to decide that. But I mean, I think what we sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, certainly, and I think a lot of us are in the media and the fans, we're all wrapped up in all of this, right? Like, we're all paying attention to every twist and turn of how this story has gone and how it's evolved. These guys in the football program are they have so much on their plate to get ready for 37 days from now when they host Western Michigan, and then 1 week later, Oklahoma, and a schedule that includes Indiana and Ohio State and Oregon, right? Like, I really think they're less plugged in. Like, they'll get briefed on, like, hey, here's sort of what's going on. Here's what's going down. Here's what we need you to do. But I don't know that they're living and breathing it every day in the same way that the fans are, or that those of us who cover this program is. And I don't know if that's that's right or wrong. I just think that's what it is.
I think that's fair. There's a certain tunnel vision can be used as a negative term, but I think there is a little bit of that when you're just so locked into those doors and just really focused on the task at hand. I think that there's a natural element of that for sure. We're running out of time. I know you got to run. You got a lot of stuff to write. Parting thoughts as far as just the team, the season, as we, like you said, less than 40 days here before the college football season arrives.
Yeah, I'll try to hit a few quick hitters. I'll sort of go position by position. Offensive line, sounds like Blake Frazier and Andrew Babalola are going to be competing for that left tackle spot. If one were to move inside to guard, it seems Frazier is more likely based on what Kyle Whittingham was just saying. They are going to find a way to get the best five on the field. It's not just, okay, you guys are tackles, you guys are guard. Like, they will mix and match some people inside. So I wouldn't be surprised if Evan Link was at guard, or if Blake Frazier was at guard. Jake Guarnera is going to be the starting center. Andrew Sprague is going to be the starting right tackle, barring injury or something unforeseen, right? So that's the offensive line. Jordan Marshall, Savion Hyder, no surprise. The 1-2 at running back. Hyder has already left Bryson Cusdall, and so that's where that stands. The wide receiver room, this is from Bryce. I would say it sounds like Andrew Marsh is obviously the 1. J.J. Buchanan is the 2. The 3 could be Jamie French, could be Celessi Moa. Don't be surprised if Travis Johnson, the freshman, works his way in there. Kendrick Bell was sort of the veteran name that he threw in, who's been around, who might be, maybe this is a year he elevates. Didn't hear the name Channing Goodwin. Doesn't mean that he couldn't be involved, but they mentioned 6 receivers, didn't hear his name. Defensive side, they feel really good about the defensive line. They said it in the spring. They think that's going to be the strength of this team. John Henry Daly, Cam Brandt, Dom Nichols, Carter Meadows. If there's a freshman, Nate Marshall for sure will impact. Lugard Edekpaye. So there's 6 guys who they think could really impact in some way on the line. How that pecking order works out will largely be determined in fall camp. The defensive tackles, probably Enoeta and Trey Pierce will be the starters, but you got David Pale. You've got Jonah Leaea, I think is how you say it. He told it to us before in the spring. I'm sorry, I always butcher it. And then maybe a Bobby Kanka, right? So there's about 10 guys on the defensive line who they think will impact, which is good. And then linebackers, which I'd say is really the position that certainly has the least amount of proven commodisu on this roster, right? Yes, the most questions is another way to phrase that. You got Chase Taylor, Nate Owusu Boateng, Nathaniel Staling as well, and Troy Bowles are the 4. Maybe Max Alford, the nephew of Tony Alford, gets in that mix, and so Whittingham said they feel they have 5 guys who can play at a Big Ten level. He thinks some of them will be not just like Big Ten standard, but could emerge. It's sort of a wait and see mode. And I think earlier we went through the secondary, who most of the guys are. Chris Bracey, they sounded pretty high on Chris Bracey, the transfer from Memphis, who will start at safety along with Rod Moore. Again, injuries can happen, or someone could surprise, or someone could fall off. But that's just the way they see it right now. Overall, I think it's a very good team with a difficult schedule. If they had last year's schedule, I would certainly 9 wins would sort of be the minimum. I don't know that I would be scared to pick it. Maybe I would pick them at 9-3 like I did last year, just because Ohio State was a tough game. At Oklahoma was a tough game, and Michigan historically has not had success going west. That's dated back decades, and they still had to play in the Coliseum at USC. But I wouldn't be surprised if they won 10 games on last year's schedule. I would be surprised if they won 10 games on this year's schedule. That doesn't mean it can't happen, but I am definitely not picking it. I'm somewhere right now between 8-4, 9-3. I'm kind of leaning more towards that 8-4 right now, but Oklahoma will tell us a lot of what we need to know. And we're less than 1 week away from fall camp starting. And so Summer is over, Andrew. So slow tear.
I know. Well, the work summer is over. Still trying to enjoy, some lake days and things like that. But
still waiting on that invite. Still waiting on that invite, Andrew.
I did invite you out one time and you couldn't come.
You did.
So there's
you
that.
Did. One time last year. I was waiting on it this year.
No, that was this year, I thought. Either way. I thought it was this summer. I thought it was. But either way.
Was it? All right, we'll hash this off.
We'll hash this off. Yeah. Expect to hear from us every week from here on out as we get ready for football season. Thanks for sticking with us for a slower time. We tried to do enough to keep you guys entertained when there was news for Michigan. But from here on out, expect to hear from us every week, barring an exception. So with that, thank you to Tony for joining us ASAP, literally in the ballroom at the Hilton there. So thank you to Robin Chan, who always helps us set this thing up, make it all happen. Thank you to our editor, their sports editor, Brian Wynn, and Nicole Avery Nichols, who makes it all happen for us here at The Freep. So with that, we'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll talk to you guys next week.